Hey guys, Alex here. I hope you're all super well. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time because I'm going to share with you my #1 technique for producing, creating, mixing, mastering music, and it is simply doing this. Yes, just blacking out the screen has helped me so much in just hearing what I'm doing better. See, because I realized after a while that when I was working on music, I was spending a lot of time just looking at it. I was just looking at all the waveforms. I was looking at the notes and the piano rolls. I was looking at the faders. I was looking at the beautiful EQs. I was looking at the meters going, and I was maybe doing more looking than I was listening. I was looking at an arranged screen and actually watching an arrangement, watching the time bar going along, and almost sort of looking for mistakes. I would start perceiving the music I was making as actually this kind of Tetris-like, sort of Game Boy-like visual map of a track. Whereas the audience will never hear it like that. They don't perceive music as something which is made in Ableton or Cubase or FL Studio. They just hear sound coming out of speakers. And when we're in the midst of that process, that's really what we need to be thinking about. And of course, there's stuff we need to do visually. We need to make all kinds of edits and dialing in soft synths. But I want to make the case to you that simply blacking out our screen while we're making music doesn't just kind of get your mind off the visual. It actually enhances your ears, your actual ability to hear. When I make music with the screen off, I suddenly feel like I'm actually playing an instrument. I'm just more in touch with what's coming out of the speakers. I can hear more clearly the details coming off the synths. And then as soon as I turn the screen on, I'm just lost in this visual maze. One thing that confirmed this for me recently was when I was setting up my speakers in my relatively new studio here in Berlin, and my friend Denise was helping me do the phantom center test, right? So when you got your speakers really well set out in a stereo field, then you should hear mono sounds appearing as if from an invisible third speaker. But he instructed me to close my eyes while I do this. And as soon as I closed my eyes, I could hear the vocal in this track just suddenly appear in this very focused way. And when I opened my eyes back up again, letting all the visual information back in, it literally clouded that experience. It became a less focused experience. When you're just blacked out, your ears have to do all of the work, right? Your ears are searching. This little button right here has connected me to listening to music on a whole deeper sensory level, and therefore an emotional one. And isn't that what music's supposed to be all about? So how do we do this? Let's talk about how you can set this up on your system. I'm going to run through a couple ways that I've got it working on Windows, and then I'm going to pick up my MacBook and we're going to run through it on Mac. Quick thing I want to point out is that if you go to YouTube and look for tech tip videos, I'm sure you've all done it, you're always going to find reams of comments below each one from people for whom the suggested way of doing it didn't work on their system. Having worked in software for a while now, I can tell you everyone's system is really different. So if these don't work for you, I suggest that you do what I did, open up something like ChatGPT, if you use something like that, and just problem solve there. ChatGPT suggested about 20 different ways to do this. I've got 2 different ways. Here's the first way. Looking at a desktop, I'm going to go to New, Shortcut. I'm going to paste some text, which is off screen, and which, of course, I'm going to put in the description below. Let's call this Blackout. So if we double click that, screens are off, and it is instant. Now we're going to give that a shortcut. I'm going to give that the shortcut Shift Control Alt F12. I've simply found that shortcut doesn't seem to clash with any others. Now the only thing is that it seems on my system that it takes a few seconds for it to kick in. Now 4 seconds in this day and age might feel like an eternity. But when we're settling in for a nice long jam session. Four seconds isn't really that long. However, I do have a way I've got it a bit quicker. It's a little bit less accessible in a sense because I'm doing that through the Razer Synapse software that is connected to my Razer keyboard, and I've simply got that on this key here. You can see it's launching this program which I've called start screensaver.bat. Now, some of the Windows geeks watching this might have other thoughts about what I'm about to say, but I haven't found a way to give that Windows batch file a keyboard shortcut. So I'm sure there's third-party software that would easily do that. If you know how that can be done even quicker, then by all means leave a comment. And so what is this Windows batch file? Well, I'll open up Notepad and drag it in. And here is text I will also paste below. Just got off ChatGPT, saved it as, we can try saving this again. So I'm going to save it as screensaver2.bat. Now if I go to my Synapse, and now if I come in here, screensaver v2, save, and it's a bit quicker this way. So find out which way works for you. You might be able to find a quicker way. Maybe you could even let others know if you found a quicker way. But either way, you've got a few seconds and you are hearing and listening to your music much better. Let's take a look at how to do this on Mac. All right, let's take a look at how to set this up for Mac. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is open up Automator into Quick Action. I'm going to put this down to no input, so workflow receives no input in any application. Down here, I'm going to scroll down to Run Shell Script and drag that in there. In here, I'm going to type pmset display sleep now. I'm going to save this as blackout 4 because I've done this a few times this morning, just preparing for this video. So if we go down keyboard shortcuts, go to services, we go to general, and you can see blackout 4, what I just created is right here. And I'm just going to set this up. So as you can see with the other ones, I like doing Control, Option, Command, B. It's nice to press that. So done. And then we'll just do the shortcut. Screen goes off. So I hope this has been as helpful for you as it was for me. Making music on computers has become so visual. All that really matters is the sound coming out of those speakers and the way that it's musically connecting with people. That's something you can't see, something you can only hear and feel. So let's take back control of that sensory experience. I would love it if you dropped a comment below to let us know, how did this work for you? Maybe you have a custom setup which works well for blacking out your screens while you're in the flow of your music production. And speaking of that, I'm going to get back to mine. So happy producing, guys, and chat soon.